After my C-section, I couldn't move much. My husband said he'd handle things. I trusted him. Then I found a hidden folder on our shared drive. It was full of videos of him with another woman, some taken in our nursery. When I asked, he said, "You were distant." I needed comfort. I didn't cry. I waited until our daughter's baptism. I gave a speech thanking everyone for their support. Then I said, "Especially you, Sarah. You've been so close to my husband lately." She turned pale. Her husband stood up and left. So did mine. When I had our daughter, I thought the worst part was over. I went through a long, painful labor that ended in an emergency C-section. I remember lying on that table, cold and terrified. Everything went quiet when they pulled her out. I thought something was wrong, but after a few seconds, I heard her cry, and that sound hit me harder than anything else. It was the best and worst moment of my life all at once. After that, everything became a blur. I couldn't move much. Every step felt like someone was ripping me open again. I could barely sit up to feed her. The pain meds helped, but they also made me groggy and out of it. My husband, Greg, stepped in. He said he would handle it all. "You just rest," he told me. "I've got it." He was a different person at first, doing everything: diapers, bottles, even late-night feedings. He'd cook, clean, do laundry. He set up a shared Google Drive for our family and uploaded pictures and videos of the baby almost daily. He even filmed little moments, like her hiccuping or making sleepy faces. My mom said, "He's really stepping up." And he was. Or so I thought. 6 weeks after the birth, I started to feel more like myself again. I was still sore, still healing, but I could move around a little. Greg didn't seem happy about it. I thought maybe he was just tired, like I was. He was acting strange, though. He stopped looking at me, barely touched me, always on his phone. He'd leave the house in the middle of the day for errands and come back with one bag of groceries after 3 hours. One afternoon, the baby was finally down for a nap, and I wanted to add a new photo to the Google Drive. I logged in and saw a folder I didn't recognize. It was buried under other folders, like Christmas photos and baby videos. It had a weird name, just a string of numbers. I clicked it, and everything changed. Inside were videos, screenshots. Some were blurry, some very clear. I clicked the first one. My husband, Greg, naked, on our couch, with a woman I recognized, Sarah. I stared at it for a full minute, thinking maybe it was old. Before me. But then I saw the baby swing in the background. The same one I had just used that morning. I opened another video. This time, it was in our nursery. The crib was visible. My daughter's name was still hanging in wooden letters above it. I felt like the floor dropped out. I couldn't breathe. I stood up too fast and almost passed out. My C-section scar screamed at me. I got to the bathroom just in time and threw up. I don't know how long I sat on the floor after that. I didn't cry. I just stared at the tile and tried to make sense of what I'd seen. I wanted to scream, to burn the house down, to call her husband and tell him everything. But I didn't. That night, I waited until Greg came in after putting the baby to sleep. I was calm. I said I saw the folder. He didn't even flinch. He sat down on the edge of the bed like he was expecting it, like he had rehearsed what to say. I asked, "You had sex with her?" "In our house. In our daughter's room." His eyes dropped to the floor. "You were distant," he said. I needed comfort. Those were his exact words. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I messed up." Just that. Like it was my fault. I didn't cry. I didn't say anything else. I got up, walked to the nursery, and sat by the crib until morning. For the next week, I acted like nothing happened. I told Greg I needed time. I told him I wanted to focus on the baptism. He seemed relieved, like he thought we could just pretend it never happened. I played along. Sarah was supposed to be one of the godparents. Her husband, Mark, was Greg's friend from college. We'd had them over for dinner. I'd trusted her to hold my baby, to feed her when I couldn't get out of bed. The baptism was scheduled for the second Sunday in March. I didn't cancel it. I didn't even hint at what was coming. That morning, I dressed our daughter in her little white gown and buttoned up my blue blouse. Greg wore a tie. Sarah came in wearing a floral dress and heels. Mark looked proud, smiling at the baby. The ceremony was beautiful. The priest said a few words, then it was time for the godparents to stand with us. Sarah stood next to me. I could smell her perfume. Afterward, we had a lunch in the church hall. There were about 30 people, friends, family, people from our neighborhood. Everyone was laughing, taking pictures, holding plates of food. Then I stood up. People thought I was going to say a few words to thank them. That was the plan. I picked up my glass and said, I just want to thank everyone for being here, for supporting our family. It's been hard, but your love has meant so much. I paused. Especially you, Sarah. You've been so close to my husband lately. So close. You even spent time with him in our nursery. Thank you for that. You could hear a pin drop. Sarah froze. Her fork was halfway to her mouth. Mark turned and looked at her. Then he looked at me. I nodded. Mark stood up and walked out. Greg stood too, but he didn't say anything. He followed Mark out. Sarah stood there for a second, then tried to run after them. Her heel caught on the carpet and she stumbled. Someone gasped. My mom walked up behind me and put her hand on my shoulder. I sat down, picked up my daughter, and kissed her on the forehead. People started whispering. I didn't care. This wasn't over. After the baptism disaster, Greg didn't come home that night. I didn't expect him to, but I left the door unlocked. I wanted him to walk in and feel the silence. Feel the emptiness he helped create. Around 2 a.m., I heard the door open. I stayed in bed, listening to his footsteps. He paused in the hallway, then walked into the nursery. I waited. Nothing. Then I heard the soft creak of the glider chair. He was rocking in it. Alone. He stayed in there all night. When I got up in the morning, he was asleep in the chair, our daughter still in her crib. I didn't say a word to him. Just changed her diaper, fed her, and left him sitting there. Around noon, he came into the kitchen. You humiliated me, he said. I almost laughed. You fucked someone in our baby's room. She meant nothing, he said. It was just a distraction. Then why did you record it? Why'd you keep it in our shared drive? He didn't answer. He didn't apologize. He just stared at the fridge like it had answers. Over the next few days, Greg tried to pretend like we could fix things. He'd wash dishes, offer to pick up groceries, try to make small talk. I ignored him. I wasn't playing that game. Then, on the third day after the baptism, I got a text. From Mark. We should talk. I have something you should see. We met at a small diner on the edge of town. I didn't know what to expect. He looked tired. Angry. I left her, he said. I nodded. Good. He pulled out his phone. I checked our shared data plan. Looked at her messages. There's more. It's not just Greg. He scrolled through screenshots. Messages to another man. A coworker. A guy she'd met at some conference in Phoenix. She's been cheating for years, he said. I stared at the messages. She told one guy she loved how empty their house felt without the baby cries. Another said, my husband's too soft. I need a real man. I think she has some kind of problem, he said. No, I replied. She's just trash. We sat there in silence. Then he said something that changed everything. I think Greg knew. About the other guys. I think that's why he started with her. Revenge, maybe. Or just convenience. I stared at him. You're saying he knew Sarah was cheating on you and still slept with her? In my house. Mark nodded. That flipped a switch in me. Greg hadn't just betrayed me. He used Sarah to hurt Mark. He let her touch our baby. He filmed it. Saved it. Like some kind of sick trophy. I didn't go home right away. I drove to a lawyer's office. I'd made an appointment the week before, just in case. When I told her everything, she didn't even blink. "We'll start with full custody," she said. "You've got evidence. He's unstable. Reckless." I handed her a flash drive with copies of the videos and photos. That night, when Greg got home, I served him the papers. He went pale. "You're really doing this?" he asked. "Yes." He sat down hard on the couch. "You don't have to destroy me," he said. "You already did it yourself." The next few weeks were a blur. Legal filings. Temporary custody hearings. Greg tried to argue he should get weekends. I showed the judge the videos. The photos. The timestamps. The room with our baby's name on the wall. The judge didn't even hesitate. Full custody to me. Supervised visits only. Greg broke down in court. I didn't flinch. Sarah tried to reach out. Called me. Left voicemails. Sent a long email. I didn't respond. She showed up at my house once, sobbing, asking to explain. I closed the door in her face. But it wasn't over yet. A week after the custody ruling, I got a call from Greg's boss. I didn't even know the man personally. Just knew Greg worked in IT at a mid-sized insurance firm downtown. The man on the line introduced himself as Raymond C. something. Didn't catch the last name. I was too stunned. He said, "This is uncomfortable, but we need to talk about your husband." Ex-husband, I thought, but I let him keep talking. "There's been a report. An anonymous tip. Inappropriate use of company equipment. Possible policy violations. We're investigating." I stayed quiet. He continued. "If you have any information that might help us, videos, files, anything that might have crossed company boundaries, it would be helpful." He didn't come right out and say it, but I knew what this was about. Greg didn't just record videos in our house. He'd uploaded them from his work laptop. One of the videos even had his office badge visible on the desk. I emailed the firm everything I had. A week later, Greg was out of a job. That's when the real meltdown started. He showed up at my house drunk, slurring, shouting. I didn't open the door. He stood outside, screaming that I took everything from him, that I wanted this to happen. I called the cops, filed a restraining order. The next morning, I found our mailbox smashed in, a dead squirrel stuffed inside. It was petty, disgusting, and exactly the kind of thing Greg would do when he was spiraling. I installed cameras the next day. A few nights later, caught him on video trying to slash the tires on Mark's car. He must have thought it was mine. Mark and I had kept in touch. He helped fix up the nursery after I moved some things out. Repainted it a soft blue. Said it helped him feel like he was moving forward too. Then something unexpected happened. Mark asked if I wanted to co-file for a restraining order against both of them, Greg and Sarah. Apparently, Sarah had also spiraled. Showed up drunk at his place. Broke a window. Screamed at the new woman he'd started seeing. Said she was going to take his life apart. The courts granted us both permanent orders of protection. Greg and Sarah were officially barred from contacting either of us or coming near our homes or jobs. But just when I thought we'd hit the bottom, I found something else. I was cleaning out Greg's old desk in the garage when I saw an envelope, unmarked, hidden behind an old printer box. Inside were printed emails, dozens of them. They were from Sarah, but not just love letters. They were blackmail drafts. Some were just rambling. Others were more direct. "If you don't leave her, I'll show her everything. I'm tired of waiting. You said she'd be gone by now. You think I won't send this to your boss? Try me." She hadn't sent them, but she wrote them. He printed them. Saved them. That changed everything in my head. It wasn't just Greg betraying me. Sarah had been pushing, manipulating, threatening. Maybe she was using Greg just like he'd used her. Maybe it had all started from revenge. Or obsession. Or both. I handed the letters to my lawyer. She said, "This isn't just adultery. This is coercion." We could push charges if you want. I wasn't sure yet. I needed time. I needed to think. That night, I sat by my daughter's crib and held her little hand. She deserved peace. But I didn't know yet how far I'd have to go to get it. After I found the printed emails, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing Greg sitting in that garage, printing Sarah's messages, maybe crying, maybe laughing. I didn't know anymore. Everything I thought I understood about him was gone. But the worst part? I wasn't sure I was any better. I'd let things fester. I'd played nice. Played quiet. Then I burned them down at the baptism. Sure, they deserved it. But I'd done it with a smile. And deep down, I liked watching them fall apart. My lawyer told me we could press harassment charges. File for damages. Maybe even get a restraining order that covered my daughter as she got older. But something inside me didn't feel done. Greg tried to meet with me, just to talk. He sent long texts about forgiveness. He even left a voicemail crying, saying, "I lost my job. I lost my daughter. I lost everything." I didn't respond. But I saved everything. Then I made one last move. Sarah had a corporate job too. HR at a local finance company. I looked them up. Found their ethics policy online. Strict. Zero tolerance on harassment, especially if it affected a client or a child. So I sent them a package. Anonymously. A flash drive. Copies of the videos. The blackmail drafts. And a short letter. This woman brought this into a home with a newborn. She threatened to expose an affair to force a man to leave his wife. She filmed herself where a child sleeps. This is not a safe person to represent your company. 2 weeks later, she was out of a job. Sarah tried to claim I was slandering her. That she was being harassed by her ex's bitter wife. But no one bought it. She called me at night from a blocked number. Said she was going to sue me for emotional distress. I recorded everything, gave it to the police. They charged her with violating the order. She spent a weekend in jail. That's when she cracked. She called Mark, begging him to talk to the DA on her behalf. Said she'd lose everything if this went to court. Said she was sorry. That she wasn't in her right mind. Mark didn't answer. Instead, he called me. He asked if I wanted to meet up. Just to talk. Said he'd been thinking about everything, how we got dragged into a storm neither of us started. We met at the same diner. He looked better. Stronger. Said therapy helped. I told him I'd started going too. We talked about the babies, about how hard it was to raise a child in the middle of chaos. Then he asked if I ever regretted it, what I did at the baptism. The speech. The exposure. I thought for a second. No, I said. They tried to ruin us quietly. I made sure they ended loudly. He nodded. Same. Months passed. The house finally felt clean. Like all the dirt had been scrubbed out. I kept the cameras up, just in case. I stayed quiet. Focused on my daughter. On healing. Greg moved to another city. He sends cards now once a month. I let him see her twice a year, supervised. He doesn't fight it anymore. He looks older every time I see him. Smaller. Sarah moved, too. No one knows where. Rumor is she changed her last name. Mark and I stayed close. Too close, maybe? But we're careful. We both lost too much to make dumb mistakes. Still, sometimes he'll hold my daughter while she giggles and grabs his nose, and I'll think. Maybe this mess gave us something clean to build from. But revenge? Revenge gave me something better. It gave me peace.